Game 4 of the Clippers versus the Jazz. It's weird. For some reason in my mind, the first two games were kind of like won easily by the Jazz, and so it was almost like, has there ever been a series where like two blowouts and then two blowouts from the other team? But it turns out that was not the case. The first game was a 3-point game; it was close, and then the game 2 was also close as well. So the Clippers have figured some things out without question, and the Jazz, on their end, had better figure something else out in a hurry. Now, don't forget, this is also broadcasting on the Hot Mic app. And what that means is that if you download the Hot Mic app on your phone, you can call into the show and join me and chop it up with me. And I would like nothing more than that to happen, because it's a lot more exciting for me to mix it up with you guys than to hear me talking for for 40 straight minutes or so. So, anyhow, and then I'm going to even throw, Ethan's out there right now on the Hot Mic app, and a good comment. He's scared that this might turn out like the Mavericks series. And, listen, this is exactly what's happening right now in the Mavericks series, right? Like, the Jazz were hot. They shot really well and won those first two games. And now the Clippers had sort of adjusted some things. We can go over and talk about why we'll do that. And now the only thing that the Clippers need to be really, really concerned with is that Kawhi Leonard could be hurt. And it was a loading as much as he could on the right leg. And we know he's got that tendinopathy thing going on, which I don't think is ever really healed. He just sort of deals with it. And clearly it hurts, but it could very well just be the thing where it's just pain management. It doesn't necessarily get any worse. It's just hard to deal with. And with a bigger lead, they could kind of afford to, let Paul George close it out. And man, what an embarrassment of riches to have, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard in the same team. So they have a redundancy there, but if one guy goes down and needs to take a break, they just put the other guy in. So anyway, sorry, that's me. I live above that's my garage door opening. Somebody is going to the car. Anyway, so let's see here. Let's go over to the live streaming side. So don't forget, if you're over on the YouTube side, you can always, if you want to get my attention and ask a question, then for sure the super chat's the way to go, and it really would be a great way to get my attention. But also, please head on over to Hot Mic, HOTMIC, and come on in and request to be on the show, and I'll let you in. Anyway, let's do a quick run through for some of the comments we see. Harwood Gems, what's up? Daniel Seho, hey, what's going on? Are the Jazz overrated? It's an interesting question. Well, let's go talk a little bit about what's happening with Jazz and why they're struggling so much. So it's interesting. It's almost like the Clippers don't want to do too much in the first game or two, just to kind of, let them get complacent and comfortable, and then they can boom. It's like Rocky fighting right hand and then switching to left. So they're switching everything. Well, here's the thing. With Donovan Mitchell, obviously, they've been really concerned about him. They've been throwing doubles at him. Tonight, they did a really nice job, I thought, of mixing it up. So sometimes on pick and rolls they would switch, and other times they would blast him, and other times they would kind of get around and drop. So they gave him a bunch of different kind of looks, and it really, really disrupted their offense to the point where Mitchell was throwing away passes, and he just couldn't seem to get a good read on it. He ended up scoring a lot of points. I mean, let me call up the NBA's box score so we can do some interesting things with that. He was 30 plus. Let's see here. What did he finish with? 37. But it was a horribly inefficient 37. He really had trouble getting into the hooping of the basket. Now, he shot 40% from three on a really high volume, 6 for 15. So you take those away from 2-point land, he was there was some math here, 3 for 11. And so he wasn't finishing on those floaters and those finishes at the basket very well at all, which is interesting because a lot of the time when the Clippers are small, they don't have like the Zubats kind of guy who can really present a big target. But I have a feeling if we look at that, Zubats was in there for probably a bunch of those misses. But they did a really nice job to rotate to him and make it hard. But he was also off. I mean, he missed a layup. Sometimes Donovan Mitchell misses layups when he goes to a bit of a more Euro or a bound step where he's got to get a little bit extra distance on that last step to go up, and he doesn't get the same lift, and he can't generate power enough to get the ball in. He's short on those. And I've noticed that over a few times this series. So that's really been a masterclass by Ty Lue on how they want to screw around with Donovan Mitchell and get him all out of sorts. Now, the other culprit here, Bogdanovic from Game 3, who shot horribly, shot better. It took him a little while to get warmed up, but he did shoot better at 6 for 12, 2 for 5 from 3 for 18 points. That's what they need from him. But in the first half, he looked, and I'm going to go check my notes real quick, because the first half, he just looked out of it. He didn't look like he looked scared to me, like he didn't really want to do anything on offense. And, he gets going on catch and shoots and letting the offense work for him. But because they were switching everything, it stagnates the offense. They can't get any kind of an advantage with penetration. So the shot clock ticks down. And next thing you know, it almost looked like the Clippers were playing zone. They kind of confused the announcers a little bit. And that was because it got so stagnant around the perimeter that the defense could just stand there in place as well, or switch on the weak side too. So it did look like a zone when it wasn't. And the one reason why I know it's not a zone is because, for instance, you can picture Batum in the guard spot, like in a 2-3, and his man goes to the corner. This is on the weak side, and he's watching, and he turns his head to look. But then the guy who comes up from the corner to the wing, they just switch, and they point it, and so he then takes the guy. So that was a switch of a man-to-man, not a guy staying in his zone, because he wouldn't have been looking so far over his shoulder to the right when the ball is all the way on the other side of the floor to the left. So that's what they were getting out of that. And so that's what's the Jazz have to figure out. Now, what we've seen from the Warriors in the past is that excuse me, hang on. You see Riley wants to come on. Let's do this. So let's bring Riley into the show. And oh my goodness, and Stella Rose, thank you so much for the tip over on the Hot Mic app, which you can also do there. But Riley, if you're there over on the Hot Mic, forgive me for delaying, if in case I don't know when you requested, but I better keep this window open better. Come on in. There's a button you got to press to accept, my invitation now, and then we'll chop it up. And don't forget, over on the YouTube side, if you want to join the show, all you got to do is download the Hot Mic app, follow me, B-Ball Breakdown, and request to join, and then I'll let you in. So while we're waiting for Riley, hopefully you'll come back to us. Let's keep going with what I was talking about. So let's see. Oh, yeah. So what the Warriors have done against switching, we've seen that against like the Rockets back in the past, was they get a lot of good backdoor cuts and movement off ball, and then they get all those layups. And they're not doing that right now, and that's a big problem. They don't have that kind of offense. What Utah wants to do is, with either a pick and roll, break the defense down and cause some rotations, and they can kick out and kick and do one more pass around the perimeter and get open shots. They want to be able to attack on the catch and get in there. But if they're not generating on those switches, they're containing that pick and roll so well, because the Clippers defense is so switchy as it is. They're playing a small ball lineup to start, and they're not the Jazz are not quite getting the kind of penetration they need when Zubac is in. And so as a result, they cannot get anything beyond a 5-man spread out in the perimeter, and they're not getting any penetration. On the flip side, the Clippers, I mean, do you see that Kawhi Dunk when he went right by Royce O'Neal and dunked like on, I think it might have been Rudy. He didn't even have to like make a move. He just sort of did triple threat and just kind of like just went to his left and went right by him. That happened a number of times where they're letting the guys get right by him off the dribble without even having to set a ball screen. And that's a really big problem. You cannot get away with that in the playoffs, especially against guys like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. You're not going to have like the ball dominant point guard guy doing, off the dribble moves and hezzies or whatever on top, but you're going to get those ISO old school kind of stuff from Kawhi and then Paul George a little bit. But then when Paul George gets going, oh my goodness, he didn't shoot fantastic in this game, but he was good enough. Where if you combine Kawhi and Paul George's field goal percentage, it was better than what they were getting from Donovan Mitchell, and 2 is better than 1. Let's see here. Abnego Meshach, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. His question here is, do you think that Tyronn Lue should have a set starting lineup? I say that because having a starting lineup creates more chemistry. I think that you need to have a bit of flexibility in the playoffs, and so the Zubac and the Batum thing that they're moving around works for me. And I think that they built that over the course of a season where you can interchange that without losing any of that chemistry. They clearly have the chemistry. Their intensity defensively has been really impressive. I feel like there have been moments in the season where they haven't had that, but they've really kind of coalesced in the playoffs around the Dallas series and then through that to now, where there are moments when they're just aggressive, taking it to him. Patrick Beverley was doing his thing tonight. There was a moment when I was going to have to say, like, get him out of there, because in the last 3 to 4 minutes when they need the clock to run, he was getting awfully handsy, and I know that's what he likes to do. But at some point, when you have a 15-point lead, you want to let the clock run. Do not be reaching in like that. Do not give the refs any reason to try and reach in and give them and call a foul on those. But he got away with a couple. There were some strange calls overall. with the refereeing, I thought. But overall, it was interesting. We had that interesting jump ball call between Patrick Beverley and Donovan Mitchell, where neither of them would have let the ball go. That was kind of a cool moment where it wasn't violent. It wasn't like a fight starter, really. They just were not. They needed to make a point, and Zach Zarba got in there. That was funny to try and break him up quickly. So let's see here. Snowy Joey from Canada, thank you so much. Stars look too fresh in the fourth quarter. Why don't we see defenses put more pressure on guys like Doncic or Mitchell? No posting them up. Little full court DUI. I mean, I think that they're worried about stretching themselves out against Mitchell, who can get going. And if he breaks you down early in the backcourt, and now he's going full court with a nice head of steam with not much in front of him, that's going to be a little dangerous. So they much prefer to probably pick him up, at 3-point line, the traditional way, and switch on him and double him and do those things. I mean, you can't argue with the results the last two games, at the very least. It's given them opportunity to take big leads and control the game. So I was thinking, though, that I mentioned that on Twitter, that at some point in the first half, it simply wasn't working for what they wanted to do with Donovan Mitchell. They could not get him off and get him free, and they probably could use some sort of a post-up. I went and checked Synergy. I was curious to see if he did that at all in this year. They don't have one possession of post-up for him all year long, not one. If Beverly's on him, throw him down the low post. I mean, the problem is since he hasn't done it, it's not the greatest thing you want to try and do all of a sudden in the middle of the playoff series. But if it's going as poorly as it felt like it was to me in the first half like that, you got to try and do something, because without Mitchell doing that at a better efficiency, then the Jazz offense kind of falls apart. This is where Conley would be very useful. So they're going to have to get him back in the lineup because they got what they needed out of Bogdanovic. Now, the other problem then they had was with let me get the box score. With where is he? Jordan Clarkson. So Clarkson was 3 for 12. And that's not going to cut it, especially if Mitchell is going to be below 35%. They need more than that. So, and by the way, again, they shot 40.5% from three, and they made 17 threes. It's a ton of threes, and they probably could have made a bunch more. They had some open shots. Now, on the flip side, with the Clippers, they went 40.5% as well, and they made 15. They probably could have made 20. Okay, like they had a bunch that were open, and the Jazz were really struggling defensively to have an impact. And as a result, the Clippers shot 47% from the field, and it probably felt like they should have been higher than that too. I bet you we can go through 10, 12 shots that were like open. They screwed up a transition defense, which is another one of those things which cannot happen. And we saw it on the other side when like Ingles gets wide open at some point and gets a three down the stretch, then nobody picked him up. That was happening with the Jazz a little bit too, and it was really strange. So they need to tighten up everything on both ends of the floor. Let's see, over on the comments over on the Hot Mic app. So let's see here. Aaron wants to know, is it just me or was Gobert horrid? Yeah, Gobert did not have that same impact on the defensive end. And when he's not doing that, and let's see, I'm just kind of curious offensively what he did. He had some free throws. Only 3 for 4. I guess I saw both. And he was 4 for 4 on those dunks, I think, rolling to the rim. So, he gave you 11 points, 8 rebounds. But, at 31 minutes with that kind of production on the offensive end, and I just didn't feel like he was that effective thinking about it. Let me see. Did he get any blocks? He got one block. A lot of times what doesn't show up with him is guys not going to the rim because he's out there. But I didn't feel like that was as much of an issue tonight. So he wasn't helping them like they needed him to. So good call on that one, Zion. Riley we're still waiting for you to come on. I invited you, so if you were ready to come on, join us. And anybody else out there on YouTube, come on over. Somebody come on, or I'll invite somebody. I got some bunch of people over on the Hot Mic. I'll just invite them because I want to hear from you guys too. Let's see here. That was Aaron's question. So Riley wants to know, Boogie Cousins should play more against Gobert to pull him away from the rim. I think that'd be a really good matchup. I feel like they got a big lead. They got a big lead last night, so they don't feel like they need to change too much. But, I think that Boogie could do some damage out there if they give him a chance. Morris really stepped up too since the last game. Well, certainly in the first half, Morris was and that was the thing about Rudy. And now I remember, Rudy was guarding Morris a bit, and there were times when he was guarding Batum, and those were a lot of the open threes that the Clippers were getting because Rudy's simply not going to play those that well. And that was what I was thinking as well, is that the Jazz need to get him out quicker so they can get somebody else in there that can play better defense in the perimeter. Especially because without Zubac in there when the Clippers go small, they're not benefiting enough. They're not going to be able to post him up and go down there and get some easy buckets that way. Did Rudy even get an offensive rebound? Let's see. Rudy got he got 2 offensive boards. It's not enough. It really isn't to justify that to go against that small ball. So I think that Ty Lue is winning that thing. And so as a result, we're seeing not as overt Rudy issues as we've seen in the past playoff series before. Because again, I got to go through it. I had tracked it before. They really weren't going after Rudy in the pick and roll. So it was weird that he wasn't as effective on that, being able to kind of troll the paint or patrol the paint. So, but Rudy's right now is not. They're going to have to cut those minutes. I don't think he can play over 30 at this rate. They want to get back in the series. And then when I say get back, I know it's 2-2, but I don't know the way this has gone and the way the momentum has shifted with 2 basic blowouts in a row. I don't see how the Jazz win this series. Maybe Mike Conley comes back. But it looks like also Mitchell's ailing, which is a problem. But then again, on the flip side is that Kawhi Leonard, who knows if they can get some treatment on him and can get back to normal. It looks like he probably can. Interestingly enough, they didn't do treatment right away on the bench. I thought that would have been something they would have done. I guess he probably wanted to just be ready just in case they needed him absolutely. So Aaron Z wants to know, hey, Coach, so after these first 4 games, who do you think has the better chance of taking on the Suns in the Western Conference Finals? Well, obviously the Clippers are playing much better basketball right now, so they would have to be the best, person to take them on. Now, that said, the Suns are looking terrific, and I don't know if either of these teams can beat them. I don't know. I mean, again, the Suns don't have that experience, and the conference finals is a different animal, but they've got a little bit of everything. And it's interesting how, they can have Mikal Bridges can match up nicely with, the Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Who else do we have? You have Jay Crowder. Again, on those 2, and then you got Chris Paul, who's not the defensive player he was, but he can still make plays. And then Booker's going to have to play some defense without question. They're going to have to see if they can get out of him as well and shoot as well as he's been shooting. But they certainly have a lot to offer against the Clippers, and so I would be that should be another great series. Can the Clippers afford to go down 2-0 against the Suns? I don't think so. I think you can't go down 2-0 in 3 consecutive. Now, I would have said the same thing about going down 3-1, and then look what the Nuggets did last year. So what do I know? But I don't know. I figured that might be a bridge too far for 3 consecutive 2-0s, because I don't think that the Nuggets never went down 2-0, right? Wasn't it like 1-1 and then they both went to 3-1? Someone can check that. Let me know in the comments if that's true or not. Excuse me. We have another super chat. Forgive me, Xavier Smith. Can the Clips afford to give the Suns a 2-0 lead? Oh, that's so funny because that was the same question over on Hot Mic. So there's my answer for that one. Great, by the way, great question. No, you cannot go 3 straight going down 2-0. But somebody, I'm going to scroll down the end of this comment. Somebody tell me if that's the truth. If the Nuggets, if they remember that, did that what happened with the Nuggets last year? They never got down 2-0, did they? I don't know. Anyway, so nobody wants to come in on the Hot Mic. Come on, we got the Hot Mic working. The last show we did with it, we had like 8 or 9 or 10 people come in, chopped it up. It was awesome. So please come on and let me know if we can, if anyone wants to chop it up and talk to me, because we also have to talk about the first game a little bit with the Hawks and the Sixers. Hey, we got a series. I wasn't sure that was going to happen, but when you get a guy like Joel Embiid going, what did he go? 0 for 12 in the second half. I mean, that's the big, unforeseen issue, I think, that the Sixers ended up having. If you got to look at something that happened, let me check the second half of that game here. In the second half, Joel Embiid played 17 minutes or almost 18 minutes, went 0 for 12. I'm sorry, in the second half alone. Jesus. That's crazy. You would have thought he would have hit at least 5 of those buckets, and if he does that, the game is in the Sixers' hands, right? So he was ailing. He's got that meniscus issue. It's going to come back and bother him a lot. In the first half, let me just quickly check here. The thing was, he was 4 for 8, 13 points, 10 rebounds. He looked fine. So I'm confused a little bit about this injury he has, because I suppose it could flare up and then be painful after a certain amount of time in certain places. But, they really kind of, wet the bed there down the stretch. And to throw this out there on top of my mind, the Hawks had a 3-point lead. The Sixers did not have a timeout, inbounding from the full court, 7 seconds to go, and they did not take the foul. And Steph Curry had a double pump it, but he almost made that. I mean, it was online a little bit long. But why are they continually screwing around with this stuff? I do not understand. They need to foul when they're up by 3. And I have to imagine that JJ Redick did a poll that I quote tweeted asking about what you would do, and the vast majority, 75%, said foul, And I would like to take credit for that because I have been on this for all season long and before. Jose Benitez, thank you so much from Canada. Hey, Coach, do you think that Mitchell's absurd playoff performances over the last 15 games are fluky or consistently replicable? I don't know. I think he's kind of convinced me. I mean, listen, he wasn't efficient tonight, but he's coming off those screens, off the move, and off the bounce and hitting threes. Those are really impressive to me. But he's a little bit more inconsistent to me, like on going to the basket now. And those are hard shots with like great athletes trying to contest. But I think he's consistent. I'm willing to go with it. I feel like we've seen enough now to know that that's his role, that's his thing, and he does it well. So yeah, he's legit. I mean, listen, I think that Jazz fans have had struggled with like Gobert as the best player or Mitchell. And I just always never understood that. To me, it was always Mitchell because at the head of the snake, you need that guy more than you need Gobert. You could find someone who can give you 75% production of Gobert, and they'd still be probably as good as they are. And if somebody caught better and maybe has some moves down low, he could shoot a little bit, then they'd be even better than that. So, it's just a thing. Rudy is, he's a great player. He has a big impact on defense, but he's limited enough where it makes it a problem. So, especially when you're talking about deep. Oh, wow. We have all these people who want to come on right now for the show. So let's bring them in. But we have another super chat really quickly. Oh, no, I think I just blocked somebody by accident. Riley, sorry. I just blocked you. Maybe ask to speak again, and I'll bring you in. But I got Daniel, Hua, and Alex. Hang on for 1 second. Cruciete. I think that's what it is. Sixers and 6 with or without Embiid. Hawks got lucky. Did they get lucky? I mean, they probably did. I mean, certainly by the 0 for 12 issue with Embiid, that doesn't happen. Then the Hawks at least hang on. I mean, the Sixers at least hang on for dear life and win that, and they're up 3-1. That series is over. You never know what's going to happen, though. But they got to get better down the stretch as well. Okay. Let's bring on Daniel here. I'm going to go in order by the way they come on here. Let's see how this works. So, Daniel, come on in, hit that button, accept. In fact, I could probably bring everybody in. Let's try one at a time for right now to see how that goes, because I know on Locker Room I bring everybody in. But Daniel, what's happening, my man?
How's it going, Coach? Not doing too good. I'm a Jazz fan here, trying to make sense of it all.
Oh, okay. Well, by the way, I want to give a quick shout out to hang on. They over on oh my goodness gracious oh my goodness. Jeff. His name is Jeff over on Hot Mic. He just fixed this where we can see your profile picture and your name over on YouTube, I think. So, or maybe not. Well, anyway, let's talk it up. You're upset. You're a Jazz fan. What are your thoughts? Uh-oh. Daniel, are you there? Uh-oh. What happened? Well, are you back?
Am I there?
Yeah. What's happening? Yeah, there you are.
So I'm kind of in denial here. I'm trying to figure out a way, can we do it? And, I look at the box score and I really think we lost the game in the first quarter. And I mean, the first half altogether wasn't great, but I think the second half, Donovan Mitchell got hot from 3. And I look at Jordan Clarkson, he only gave us 8 points, whereas he's averaging closer to 20. And then I look at Morris. I hate Morris in the playoffs. I hate rooting for him when I don't think you can trust the guy. And then so I'm looking at no one else than playoff P. If anyone is going to let us come back, or not even come back as a side, I really think there's reason to be reasonably hopeful that the Utah Jazz can come back from it. I see that Dallas took them to a game 7, and in my opinion, this Dallas team was worse than the one last year. I don't know. I really don't know what to make of this Clippers team, but their inconsistency leaves a little bit of room for hope there.
I hear you. Yeah, the Paul George thing could certainly be something that you could root for or watch for to see if he gets inefficient again. Let me check what he shot again. He didn't shoot great, by the way. Let's see. He was 9 for 20, and it's pretty good. 4 for 10 from 3. But a lot of those were daggers, man. Like he hit a couple off the dribble bound like threes that were just like they get a stop, they get a score, and then the Jazz kind of get back in it, and he wouldn't let them. And then remember down the stretch with Kawhi out, he really led them nicely. So you got to be worried that those are the building blocks for Paul George, right? And as he gets better and he gets more success there, that'll build upon itself, and you won't see the other issues we've seen in the past from him. So I think your biggest hope, honestly, is that Kawhi is going to be banged up enough where he's going to be a shell of himself. Hate to say it that way.
I think so.
But
yeah, me too.
Yeah, but that might be the biggest
in terms of Paul
thing.
George,
Yeah.
I think I've noticed that Paul George kind of psychologically, he's the kind of guy that once they're up, once they have a lead, like in the bubble where he was talking crap to the Blazers and Damian Lillard, and then once things got tough, I think that's when he tends to clam up. So I think it really helped that they had a solid lead, commanding lead from the get-go. It was 30-11 or 13, massive lead in the first quarter. But I don't know. If the going gets tough, that's when I think that's when he disappears. So.
Right. So that, by the way, that's the other thing. Then they yanked Rudy a little early. You noticed that they took him out with like maybe 7 minutes to go in the first quarter, I think, because it wasn't working. He was giving up all sorts of open threes. They need to come out with a hot start, and then maybe the home crowd will help them with that. But you're right. They have to be able to get the Clippers on their heels, because if they get that lead, then they're comfortable, and then it's really hard. They play much better that way. I mean, every team does. But there are some teams that seem to be tough where they don't necessarily get affected by that and they can come back. The Clippers team, to me, feels like if you can get them on their heels early, then that gets you control. So, yeah, you're right. I would say the first 6 minutes of the first quarter in Game 5 are going to be absolutely crucial.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thanks for everything you do, Coach. I appreciate the show. I appreciate being able to talk.
You got it. Thanks, Daniel. Appreciate it. All right. Let's say I just want to move this good. Okay. Let's bring in Alex and see what Alex wants to say here. And I don't think I blocked you, Riley. So if you want to come on, there I see. Now you're requested again. I'll bring you in a minute, Riley. But Alex, let's bring him on. I think we're waiting for him to hit the button and join the show. Dun 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 dun. Live TV. Alex, hang on for 1 second. I got another super chat I just want to address real quick from FLC Climax. Clippers should have FL Climax. Clippers should have completed the sweep tonight. Kawhi seemed tired in the first games, and the team didn't shoot well. Okay. Yes, that's without question. Kawhi was tired. I think that the altitude had something to do with that, and people don't often point that out, but I was trying to point that out in the last couple of games. So that's going to be the advantage that the Utah Jazz have going forward. And certainly if Kawhi is banged up again like he was at the end of this game, that's going to give them a big advantage. So great call on that one, FL Climax. But Alex, you're live. What's happening, my man?
Not a lot. I just finished up watching that game with you, and I actually wanted to ask you, what do you think a healthy Mike Conley changes for this series?
Okay, that's the best question we've had all night. Well, let's see here. He's another ball handler that could take some pressure off of Mitchell. So in theory, maybe Mitchell shoots a little bit better because he's not constantly having to create and shoot and do everything for everybody. I hope he doesn't shoot the right-handed floater. It drives me nuts, but he probably will. That's okay. But defensively, too, he's got a good presence there. Will be able to help them on that end, too. I would think. Certainly he's smart enough and knows positionings. We did see some bickering a little bit out there on the Jazz side, I feel like, defensively, because they weren't rotating down on some of those roles. So that'll all help, without question. Mike Conley helps the Jazz. And I certainly think on offense is what they need. They need a moment also, by the way, if they double Mitchell, like they've been doing a lot of, if they get it to Conley, he's another guy that's going to be able to create and really create nicely and get into the lane and then maybe create for others as well. That's a huge thing. So if they can get him out there, that will radically change. You won't see so much stagnant offense based on the switching that the Clippers were doing on defense, right? You'll see a lot more like breaking down and a lot more, probably a lot more good shots.
Yeah, something I noticed when they were playing Mitchell and having him run all of the plays through them is they were really kind of collapsing on that switch and almost doubling, but not quite, and forcing him to have to pass out to somebody. And I'm not sure if it's his lack of playmaking ability or if just having Mike Conley out there being a better playmaker will help get that ball moving and get to those open shots quicker.
I agree, absolutely. And I feel like in my mind's eye, I'm picturing a couple of those kickouts when he did throw them, they weren't quite on target so much, so that like an open shot is not open anymore because they have to jump up and get it, or they got to reach over and get it before they can get set, and then the defense is recovered. And that's Conley's probably a little bit better at that, at being able to draw and kick like that anyway. So yeah, without question, he radically changes things, but I wonder if it's enough. Right? They've gotten beat by 30. They gotten beat by like 15, whatever it was tonight. It's an interesting question. Can he make up that big of a difference? Maybe at home he can, And that's going to be the key, because then that brings down to game 6, right? But although that said, if the Jazz can pull out game 5, then I think that they're so much more likely to win the series, right? The game 5 winner of a 2-2 series wins the series. It's got to be over 80% of the time. So that's why they have to get him back, and B, they have to have a better start.
And I think also having him on that offensive end too might make PG and Kawhi work a little bit more on defense. And, maybe that even tires them out so they can't be as efficient down the stretch on offense.
Yeah, but it's probably going to be like Beverly and Reggie guarding him, right?
Well, yeah, but if you can keep forcing switches, because again, they weren't perfectly switching. They were doing a lot of that hedge switch onto Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
And if you can't just do that, if you're forced to constantly switch, maybe it just tires them out and gives them that little bit of an edge.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable to me. So yeah, for sure. We now know what we're looking for. Do we know what the deal is with Conley? Has there been a report about him coming back?
I am not sure.
All right, we got to check that. I don't know if anybody knows, but they need him.
That's for sure.
All right, thanks, Alex.
No problem, man.
All righty, let's see here. Let's bring in. I don't want to mispronounce this, but I think maybe it's Juan without the N, but Hua, Jua. So come on in and let's chop it up. And then first of all, you got to tell me if I'm pronouncing your name even close to right. Jua. There you are.
Hey.
So how do I pronounce your name?
Jua.
Oh, Jua. Okay, it's a hard J. What's happening, my man?
I'm just so happy the Clippers didn't sell the bag again. So
yeah, I hear you. What was the key for you?
The key to me, I think, was when we switched the characters. We didn't switch too many pieces. I feel like Ty Lue always switches too much, and then we don't have the coordination or the ability to do it.
Right, like the chemistry, like the guys are not. Yeah. They don't get a good rhythm going. That's an interesting point. Yeah, a lot of times coaches have to panic and they start to just substitute and change lineups all over the place, and everyone's getting yanked in and out, and it's hard to get a rhythm going.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And then certainly you got to imagine that. Are you concerned about how Kawhi had to get taken out and not finish the game?
Not really, because we do this all the time. We're going to be more cautious with Kawhi because obviously he's going to win us the game.
Right.
So win us the first two, the first half, like he did today. I'm perfectly fine if he doesn't do the second quarter because our team has to help him. Kawhi didn't come to this team for him to be the main guy, to do it all.
Right. Okay, fair enough, because Paul George is going to take part of that load. Okay, yeah, and I'm sure that he was really excited to see Paul George do his thing, right? That, for some reason, I can't picture him doing it that often like that, where he was the man, he took control of the offense, and he made sure they got good shots down the stretch every time. That was really impressive to me.
That is, but I didn't even think he was a man. I thought Morris was a man. I thought, the role players actually showed up. So, I don't think of Paul George as a superstar. I see him as a star. So when the role players helped the star out, I was like, okay, we got this. We're gonna win this.
Absolutely. Right. And then meanwhile, I don't know, you might have gotten a little bit scared when Ingles hit that corner three. Right.
I was like, oh no.
Yeah. And he had a smile on his face. There was something there, but hey, I was only upset because I thought we could start this whole live show early because there was a blowout, and then they made us go all the way to the end before I could launch it. So, but they got the win, so that's important. So good stuff.
It's not like the Mavericks when I just need them to win the 5th game down straight. I could I got $200 on this series, so
Whoa. Okay. Well, I wish you luck on that. Game 5 is the crucial the game. I think so. Not that it couldn't happen if the Clippers lose Game 5, but man, the odds are rough if you don't get that 5th game.
Yes, sir.
All right, Jua. Thanks so much for coming on.
You too, man.
All right. Now let's go to Riley. Finally, I'm going to add you, Riley. And I think you got to press a button to come on. Let's drum roll. Let's see here if he's going to come on here. And don't forget, if you're over on YouTube side and you want to jump in the show, just like these guys are, download the Hot Mic app and get on the B-Ball Breakdown side, however you do that. You search for me and get in the show and request to come on, and I will bring you in. But Riley is missing the button here or something. There's something you got to press to say okay after I say come on in. Here he is.
Afternoon, Coach.
Hey, what's happening?
Not much. What's happening with you?
Well, we're just trying to figure out if the Jazz have any hope.
Yeah. Tough, honestly. Bring up. In this, him to Marcus Cousins and Morris. Defense because elite rim protect. Defense can be a bit sloppy at times. He's going to be a bit slow. Much big Barker and Morris and Cullen, I think would. If just want to think of it.
It broke up a little bit on me, but I'm pretty sure you're talking about having Gobert having to guard like Batum and Morris, and what that's doing to them. And yeah, I mean, listen, I want to give Gobert a little bit of credit. There were a few times I saw him, expend energy to get out there on the perimeter and try and guard, but there were also a few times where he didn't, and they just hit threes, like shooting practice. And that's what they took Gobert out very early in that first quarter because of that, and that's going to keep happening. I just feel like Gobert is just doomed in the playoffs to be that guy who doesn't fit in the modern NBA, and teams are willing to go small because guess what? It's working, right? They're getting off to good starts. The Clippers had a great start in the beginning from that, and if you're going to be behind the 8 ball on the road like that, it's like, what are you supposed to do? And you can't not start Rudy, I guess. But, they're going to have to kind of limit those minutes. They cannot keep him out there if they're going to generate. And by the way, it's not even the fact that they're nailing all these shots, but they're just giving up the wide open shots. You know what I mean? And that's a real problem. And, it's a tough one for Quinn Snyder. I don't know, short of just limiting his minutes, what else he can do.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting as well to see who wins this series going up against the Suns. I mean, the Suns get a week break. Just about. It'll be really interesting because DeAndre Ayton is so good in the paint. I reckon he's underrated for what he does. Being a young guy, he's got a lot of potential to be great. I put him at Hakeem Olajuwon type great. That's a pretty bold statement to make, but I'm making it here live.
Okay. All right.
And it'll be really interesting to see who wins this series because I think the Clippers against the Suns, they neutralize that DeAndre Ayton aspect, but they've also got Crowder and Bridges and Chris Paul who are all really good shooters. So it'll challenge the Clippers defense. The Jazz, we've got Rudy and DeAndre in the post, and then a bunch of 3-pointers around them. So it'll I reckon be a series of who can make the most 3-pointers.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. It's the Western Conference Finals will be a really interesting. It's going to be a chess match then because you're going to have a lot of the teams will be even and the way they match up will be even. I don't think it's going to be some clear cut ways to approach this and how you want to attack. So they're going to have to get their coaching hats on and figure some things out. So absolutely, it should be. We're going to have a great Western Conference Finals. I can't wait.
Yeah, for sure. I can't wait for it, Coach.
All right. Well, thanks, Raleigh. I'm assuming you're calling all the way down from down under.
Yeah, man, all the way from Australia.
All right.
Much love.
Thanks so much. I'll talk to you soon. All right.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
I got some super chats to go through. For now, Enigma Sticky Fingers, forgive me for not getting too quicker, but you want to know who matches up better against the Suns, and we just kind of referenced that for a minute over on the Hot Mic app. Gosh, who matches up better? I think that they both kind of match up in a similar way. I would think that. I would think I think the Clippers probably match up a little bit better. I feel like they have a little bit more of a defensive thrust in key positions that would then match up well against the Suns. So I'd go with the Clippers. I get on that one. And then Lil Ruse, thank you, and thank you so much for everybody out there in the super chats. So generous of you. Do Hawks have a chance to get to the finals? If I remember, Atlanta won a few games against them this year. Well, that's a really interesting question because we don't know what's going to happen on the other side. I thought Kyrie broke his ankle practically with what Giannis did. And, we had a discussion on this on Twitter a little bit about, how Giannis approached that. That wasn't a box out. He just got there late. Kyrie had already been in the air shooting an open layup. And what was interesting was that he comes across from Kyrie's left side, but then sprains his right ankle to show you how far across the midline he came to step underneath him. And you got to be better than that. I'm not saying it's intentional, but you need to be more aware of like what you're doing, what your feet are doing, because it's just dangerous to play that way if you're not. And I don't think Giannis had even one iota of a notion that like what he did stepping under a guy like that was a problem. And that's an issue. I would hope he would have reached out and apologized or something, but still, you need to be better than that. And as a result, I think that the Bucks will probably end up winning the series. I don't think KD can do it alone, but you know, if there's anything that KD has done, he's shown that he can lead a team and really be a difficult, you know, guy to shut down. So if anybody could do it, it would be him. But yeah, you take two starters and two of the top 5 or 6 players in the league out of the lineup, if Harden can't come back, they're not going to win that series against a good Bucks team. So now you're talking about Bucks and Hawks. That's a tough one. I would think that the Hawks, the Cinderella story would probably end there, and they wouldn't be able to beat the Bucks. I just don't see it. Although, man, when watching like John Collins and his aggressiveness on the offensive boards, and watching the devastation that Trey wreaks on offense in the pick and roll, you know, the Sixers really have very few answers to that. They really are not playing that well against that, and they're getting great shots. I charted all of them. I'll probably chart all the Trey Young pick and rolls again for Game 4. It's part of the video. We'll see. But it's already been pretty clear to me when they don't step up beyond the free throw line, it's a bucket. But we saw tonight when they come out higher, it's a bucket anyway. So they need to come up with something radical to change that. Let's go back over to Hot Mic and bring on Austin. I'm going to go in the order that I see him in here. Austin, let's come on the show. We'll chop it up and see what you want to talk about. Hopefully you press that button and come on in. Maybe I'll grab a question from the Hot Mic side real quick while we're doing it. How deep in it are the Nets tomorrow? Daniel wants to know. They're in it. They're in it deep, especially if Harden's not going to play, which, as far as I can tell, he's not. They're in danger of losing the series, and it's really just too bad. It shouldn't. None of these series should change like that in a mid series injury, or even an injury overall. Period. It really sucks that we've had this no rest in between. You know, the rest between seasons was short for some teams. And although remember, for 8 of the teams that didn't go to the bubble, they had a huge layoff. But some of these guys played a lot of games and a lot of rest. All right, well, Austin, if maybe you'll come on, I'm going to bring in Lehman, and then while we're waiting, I guess, until Austin figures it out, let's try that. So, Lehman, are you there? Lehman? Waiting for a guest. All right, so we'll see. Oh, here we go. Lehman's coming on.
Hey, how's it going?
Did I say your name right?
Yeah, it's like Lehman Brothers, but still around.
Nice. So yeah, what's happening?
My dad's been a Clippers fan for over 10 years, and ironically, this is the first season he did not renew his season tickets.
Oh, why?
Really,
Kawhi and Paul George?
Last year, you know, it was.
Wow.
We've gone through all the depressing stages. So honestly, we're both really impressed this year. I was impressed in this game in particular that the Clippers, even though they were ahead by 20, that actually made me nervous.
Okay, why?
All last playoffs, they were up by 20 against Denver, right? Every single game, they were up by 20 early. So when they went early this game, I was actually scared because that was like a flashback to the last playoffs. So
right. Well, Doc Rivers took that whole thing to the Sixers, right? And he's doing the same thing with that team now against the Hawks.
I'm paying close attention because he did that. You know, I'll never forget Clippers versus Rockets, up 3-1, up 20. So a lot of people here are saying, you know, their Clippers get comfortable when they're up. I actually completely disagree, and have been really impressed with them being locked in. And I think Ty Lue has probably been the perfect complement to that.
Yeah, there's no question in my mind that the defense, and I want to check it real quick to see if the defensive rating was better this year than last, but the defense is much tighter, right? I feel like they're much more on a string together and intense than they ever had been in the past. And I don't know who else you're going to chalk it up to besides Ty Lue, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think the Mavs woke them up. Last year, the Mavs woke them up a little bit, but I never felt good about the Clippers.
Okay. The Clippers really quickly were 8th in defensive rating this year, and last year They were fifth. So they were actually a little bit worse, at least as far as the rankings go. But I got to tell you, the defense looks better this year in the playoffs for sure.
They seem so locked in. I think it's mostly mental. And I don't know what it is about Doc. I loved him as a coach and rooted for him all the way to the end. But I'm glad. I mean, I think they made the right move to change, and we'll see how far they get. But, I feel like Game 6 last year when they lost, I wanted to bet on the Clippers, but I wasn't smart enough to win the championship because that would have been a good way to make some money.
Yeah. Hey, however you can do it in these times. How's your Bitcoin doing?
It's rough. Got a little Ethereum.
I know. I can't even. I don't even want to talk about it because it's so. All I got to tell you is my portfolio was twice as big just like a month and a half ago than it is now, and probably should have gotten out then. But hey, I'll do another YouTube channel that talks about Bitcoin, and we'll figure that out together.
NFTs, you got that all the way.
There you go. There you go. So hey, listen, I'm trying to get to NBA Top Shot to do some Coach Nick content over there. So we'll see.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Hey, I just wanted to say thank you for all the coaching. I played high school ball, but I realized I really didn't understand basketball, and you've really helped me kind of pick it up a little bit. So
wow, thanks. Hey, well, you sound like you're in LA, huh?
Yeah, hardcore LA.
Where did you play high school basketball?
John Marshall. So it's in Silver Lake.
Yeah, no, I know the coach. What's his name?
Back when I was playing, it was an Asian guy.
Oh, okay. Because it's like Pasadena or something, right? Isn't that where that is? Where's John Marshall?
John Marshall is near Los Feliz.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. Over on the east side. Yeah. The guy I know there now. Yeah, I'm forgetting his name, but he actually let me use his gym, I believe. It got kind of a cool gym, right? Like a what's that?
It was the Space Jam gym. You know, Michael Jordan, Space Jam, Bugs Bunny.
Oh yeah, right. That's where they filmed that. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so pretty epic. We had Grease. Our yard was where Grease played.
Oh, right. Really yes. Right. Cool. All right. Well. Listen, I'm glad that I could help you out a little bit. If what you got out of that, that's awesome to hear. So hopefully you keep getting better.
Yeah, trying really hard. And I guess the last question I have is, it seems like the offensive schemes in the playoffs get a lot more simple, where it's all about picking on the weakest player, a lot of pick and rolls. Is that accurate, or is there still all the offense that you're talking about, horns and all this other stuff you thought? Does that still happen, or it just seems like it gets really simple because it has to, and that's why superstars become so much more important in the playoffs?
Well, listen, the Suns are running some beautiful stuff, so they actually are having flow and running their stuff that they did in the regular season. I feel like I'm seeing horns in my mind's eye. I was just going through it, but now I got to figure out which team I can picture it doing. Maybe even the Clippers were doing it. Who did I break down the other day? So I'm seeing a little bit of that. I mean, really, where you get that is from LeBron, right? LeBron's the guy that just breaks it all down. I'm going to dominate this possession. We're going to force the switch. Although I'm not sure we saw that much this year either. So I think we're getting more maintaining the offense and looking to get flow going until maybe the end of the games where you start to see a little bit more of the ISO. So it's been a nice change from what we've seen in the past.
Interesting. Cool. Well,
awesome.
Thanks, Coach. Watch all your videos. So
okay. Thank you for being in. So we'll talk to you later, Leonard. Thanks
so much.
All right. I got a super chat. Oh my goodness. No, a couple. Thank you guys so much. And again, this really helps. You have no idea on the YouTube side, the super chats. The Rosie Codex. Hi, Coach Nick. It seems like Chris Paul exposed Jokic's defense in the pick and roll, getting open mid-range shots every time. What is the secret to defending him, in your opinion? I was just talking about this and trying to figure that out myself, because you wanted to take those shots in theory, but not him. You want the mid-range shot to be taken, right? You have to step up higher. You really just got to meet him higher and then try and contain as best as you can from there. But, you do that, and then the roll man gets going, and he gets behind you, and then he's throwing lobs. Now, the weak side guard is supposed to bump down and tag, but in my mind, that shouldn't be as effective as it is. Sometimes guards won't throw it when they see that weak side guard come over, but that guy's 6'3". The roll man is 7 feet tall. What is he going to do? What's a tag do to him? What touching him on the waist doesn't do anything. Throw it up there. The guy's going to dunk it anyway. So you got to be able to stop it from the point of attack. And then part of that would be if you come up and try and pressure the ball, that also needs to be pressuring the lob pass, because you can make that a really hard pass. If you're 7 feet, Chris Paul is 6 feet in shoes, and he's going to try and throw it over you. And if you're up there, That could be a great way to at least try and make it difficult. We have seen guys who are really athletic who can kind of stunt at Chris Paul and then get back and still get up in the air and tip that away. That's a lot harder to do. But just dropping back and then getting stuck in no man's land is simply not the answer. You're never going to get anything done against Chris Paul in particular. I'm going to do a video sooner than later about the mid-range and how some of these guys are just dominating that position and why those guys do. And, the analytics say you don't want to shoot those shots, the 17-footers or 15-footers. But when you are Klay Thompson or when you're Chris Paul and DeMar DeRozan, those guys who all shoot 50% or a little bit higher maybe or in that range, those are worth it to take. But you have to be able to create those shots usually off the dribble. And that's the difference of not everybody can do that in the NBA. Jake Wellard, thank you so much. Who are the favorites for the Chip Bowl? For the Chip, now I'd say it's so even between 4 or 5 teams. This is the toughest season ever to predict a winner. The championship. I guess I would say it's more like the championship. Anyway, so the favorites, I mean, listen, the Suns can be the favorites because the Nets suddenly went from being favorites to they're probably not going to get out of this round without Kyrie healthy and without Harden healthy. So, maybe you say the Suns and the Bucks, and that which would be awesome because that's a rematch. No, the Bucks won a title against the who did they win? With Kareem. I think they won 2 of them back then. And oh my goodness, was it the Suns? No, because the Bucks were in the Western Conference. So the Bucks who did they beat in the finals with Kareem, with Lou Alcindor? Maybe it was the Celtics. Gosh darn it. I used to know this so well. My mind is mush. Anyway, it would be great to see those 2 match up in the finals. The Bullets, is that right? The Bullets is one of them? Maybe. Anyway. So, but the favorite, I suppose if it's like the Bucks and the Suns, you probably got to say the favorite is the Bucks. I don't know. But Lehman, thank you so much for becoming a member of the membership on YouTube. Thanks. That's awesome. Really, you'll welcome to that club too. All right, let's get back over to Hot Mic. We got 3 more people who want to come on in before we probably start to wrap the show up. But amazing, all the people who are here right now. Let's bring in Austin. I just hit the button to invite you. So when you are ready, press that the other button on your end and come on the show. Well, you know what? Zion asks me in the comments, did I try out the new defense I was talking about? Yes, I did. I went last week to a high school program and tried to do a radical defense where you have 2 guys in the low posts and you have 3 guys in the perimeter that play behind the ball. So think the way the Jazz were guarding Harden and the Bucks tried to do it too, kind of behind the guy, and then have a shadow near the block to kind of control that. It didn't go great, but it was interesting, and I got to do it again with better players now. So I got something out of that with the high school players. I got to go to the next level and really kind of break it down into some more component parts. So I'm working on it because I want to actually present it at Coaching You Live, which I'm going to be presenting at in Vegas during the NBA Summer League, which is huge for me. I think one of the only non-NBA coaches who are going to speak at this thing. So it's got to be awesome. So I got to keep working on it. But if not, I got to figure something else out to present. But Austin, I guess if you're not there, let's bring in Eli. Well, wait, let's see if Eli can get in here. If he's ready. I know you guys have been holding for a little while. I appreciate you being patient. So Eli, are you there? Waiting. And then we got Alex coming up on deck if Eli is not there. So we'll give you another minute there. Let's see here. Is there another super chat? Nope. Okay. Let's grab somebody. Let's see. Let's grab a question from YouTube while we're waiting for those 2 guys to see if anybody comes on. Robbie's out there, it looks like. What's up? There you go. How do you join the call? Yeah, so you download the Hot Mic app, and you find me at B-Ball Breakdown, and you just request it. When you come in the show and you request to come on, then I say, okay. So I'm not sure where the Austin and Eli are, but let's try Alex. Let's see if the third time's a charm for Alex. Oh, wait, did I miss that? There we go. A viewer was invited. So, Alex, I'm waiting for you to see if you can come on. And I see you, Will. So, one of these 3 people have to come on, right? So, don't forget, Hot Mic is the way to go. HOTMIC. And, all right, well, listen, maybe it's time for Will then. All right, let's bring in Will and see what happens. All right, Will, are you there? You're going to hit that button. Somebody's got to come in here and join the show. And then I see Robbie there. So Rob. But let's see here. I'll bring you in a second if Will doesn't come on either. What? Oh, here we go. Will, what's happening?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can.
So I guess I was just wondering, like, the one question was when I was watching the Hawks game earlier today, and right at the end there, when they didn't take the foul, I was actually thinking of like your words in my mind. I was like, damn, like it's right there for them. They need this game. You know, if you go down 3-1, it's not looking too good for you. And like 6 seconds left, there's plenty of time to get like a pretty decent shot, especially with some of the guys they have on the Sixers. And like, I don't know, like, why do you think even in the playoffs, like, is it just coaches maybe don't, like, they'd rather lose to a buzzer beater than the unlikely, like, you know, miss the
right
whatever. And yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I think it's a generational thing because people my age or older, when you're coming up as a coach, the 3-point shot wasn't what it is now, right? It was there, but wasn't what it was now. So I don't remember ever hearing about a scenario where you might want to take a foul. So it's like, it wasn't ingrained in you early. So like guys like Popovich, it must sort of be that, you know, from the distant past where like they won't do it. Is it a manly thing where it's like, we got to be able to play defense. If we can't, we don't deserve to win. You know, one of those things. Now, every once in a while, people will try and argue that like the numbers back it up that you shouldn't foul. Normally, what I've seen it's pretty close. Like, you know, the team wins most of the time anyway. But as the 3-point shot is getting better and better, and you're having more and more people being able to shoot it at farther and farther distances and under more and more pressure, it makes no sense to me to take a chance because, like I said this before in the videos, so many things can go wrong on that defensive end, especially if it's out of a timeout on a sideline out of bounds play, where they're designed to get you to screw up and not. And you'll miss an assignment or miss a switch or whatever and give up a shot. Just take the foul. They're not going to make the first one and miss the second one, somehow get the end of the 3-point line and hit a shot and win the game. That's not going to happen. So at any rate, that was always sort of the fear. And I think that's what they're scared about is maybe they'll foul like during the shot, which is why you got to practice, you know, fouling without the guy shooting. And then that last situation against for the Hawks and the Sixers, there were so many opportunities they had to just take a foul. The guy wasn't looking at the basket, wasn't facing the hoop. They were in the backcourt even with hardly any time left. You just got to do it, and it's just still mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, I guess we'll see. It would suck if that kind of made the difference in you know, in a conference final or a finals.
Yeah. Well, when you know, let's see. Wait, who was it? It was I mean, Nate McMillan's a prime example. He is of that era where, like, you know, it doesn't surprise me that they won't take the foul. But yeah, it would be a stunning. I will throw my computer out the window if we see a team tie it up like that, like in a situation like that, and then go on to win in overtime for that. I would be so frustrated. So anyhow, yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. Now, interestingly enough, Will got in here. I mean, sorry, Alex got in here too. So Alex, are you there?
Yes, I'm sorry. For a split second, so.
Okay. Well, welcome in here. So, Will, are you? Do we cover the questions you have for us, Will?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess maybe just the last thing would be. I know I was like commenting the other day. You know, could the Suns kind of win the championship? And it's not the way I wanted it to happen, but you know, it looks like the Nets might not have it.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. You know.
For sure.
It's unfortunate, I guess.
Yeah.
But thanks.
You got it. Thanks, Will. All right. So let's go so we have Alex. Alex, what do you want to talk about?
Man, there's so much things that I want to say in such little time, so I'll try to figure it out. But honestly, I was watching a lot of the game or game 3, starting to prepare for game 4. And one of the things that you said in one of your videos about how when it was defending Steph Curry and how when they go to their right, it's harder to turn and rotate. It's a shot a little bit tougher, especially with the hand in your face. And the only person that I've really seen like hit that shot and like when it really matters and stuff like that is like LeBron and Kyrie. Kyrie in the finals over Steph Curry. and I believe Steph Curry might have had like a length disadvantage in that scenario, or maybe because Kyrie elevated and the shot was easier or something like that. But double teaming Donovan Mitchell on the pick and roll, forcing him right, having in key rotations is like the main portion, because that's kind of the plan that I was thinking about defeating Chris Paul with, because then you don't have to really sag or drop or do any of this. Your just rotations have to be solid. After that, you're kind of fine.
I know, but if you want to double Chris Paul and he's going to fire those lasers to the weak side corner for threes, I don't know. I mean, Donovan Mitchell doesn't do that like that. He does it a little bit actually, but Chris Paul is going to find the guy, right away. And they're going to. By the way, the thing about that I've seen that they weren't doing well, and Trae Young wasn't doing well either. Was they're not hitting a short roll. They're not filling the elbow diagonal pass that way. So all Trae Young has is a flat pass to the other side, to the wing or to the top. And the same thing with Mitchell. And they're not being able to attack the defense, and they're not letting the defense rotate. But for me, if it's Chris Paul doing that, they're going to figure that out pretty quick, I would think.
Right, and that is true.
But I like where your head is at. I mean, you got to do something. You got to mix it up on him and show him a double team, show him a high head, show him a drop, show him a switch. You got to pull out all the stops against Chris Paul.
Right, and there are like a little bit of how Denver was kind of defending it, like how you drop and you have someone on the elbow and kind of like dig in, try to decrease the space in the pick and roll, which that kind of didn't really work because Chris Paul would kind of like sneak the pick and roll and still find the mid-range shot.
Yeah, and that's dangerous to being one pass away, helping where he'll snap that pass to the wing. And, Crowder has found his stroke again, and he doesn't need any time now.
Yeah. And I guess what I was thinking in my mind was because we have we're like a lengthy team, and we have some type of speed and length. I guess the pass would be a little bit harder. At least he'd have to be a little bit more accurate on the passes.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily that I'm trying to that the pass is trying to be taken away, but it's more so like getting used to rotations when they start like just getting quicker and quicker and quicker. So like the time that they have to shoot when they have that opportunity starts to decrease and decrease and decrease, and they start getting a little bit hesitant. And that's not a perfect plan, but I don't think there is a perfect plan to defend these guys. They're different breeds. No shade to Jazz fans, but I personally feel like the series should be over with the Clippers. It should be 4-0, but it's tied because there was a games just the Clippers to lose, and the Jazz fought back really, really hard, and Donovan Mitchell just went crazy, and there was no stopping that.
Right. I hear you. I mean, it's a little bit similar to Luka, right? And they got control of that, and that was it. All righty. Well, thanks, Alex. I appreciate it.
Guys. Yeah, thank you for having me.
You got it. Take care. All right, let's go to I guess that's not happening. Let's go to Rob. Here, let's see if he hits the button. So, yeah, there's when you come on the Hot Mic app and you could join the show. And thank you, Lehman, for letting everybody know that in the chat. I invite you in, and you got to press one more button. Rob, I think you're there.
Coach, how are you?
I'm good. Now, for those who don't know, Rob is one of the best friend of the Breakdown, and goes way back to the how far would you go back?
Oh, it's been I graduated high school in 2010, so I've been following this channel since I was in high school in 2010, 2011, and during my final senior year.
Wow.
This just for all the listeners out there, this channel is like kind of what also inspired me to really take a deeper dive into the game and really try to launch a career in it. And I was fortunate enough to meet Coach Nick at Sloan while I was interning for the 76ers and then the Miami Heat in basketball operations. And I've met Coach on a number of occasions. I live in LA now, and we've been meaning to reconnect. And I just got done watching the game, and then I saw your YouTube channel up, and I was like, oh, let me just pop in because I know we were texting a few weeks ago, and been meaning to reach out and show you some of the stuff I'm working on for some different coaching projects. But yeah, I used to work at Second Spectrum, and I currently work at Fox Sports, and this channel has just been great, and I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate all the work that you do.
Hey, my pleasure. I mean, what you want? Anything of note that you caught your eye tonight?
Yeah, just more, I think, is just the adjustments that the Clippers are able to make with their like different lineup combinations. I think is probably the first thing. I think they make a really concerted effort to get some of their original, like their key scorers who they need to have a good game to win. Getting them going early, I think, is something that they've kind of focused on games where they've really needed to come down and win. And that's like ultimately, I think, they're just very good at making adjustments mid-series. I think that is what's going to be really tough. I think if they can get through Utah, I think in games 1 and 2, I thought they actually tried to go at Gobert a bit too much. I think when he's defending in the pick and roll and, when he is covering the paint, he's the defensive player of the year for a reason. I think where it's screens are run at him, it's like the least efficient way to go at a pick and roll in the entire NBA. So I like the decision to try to play small because he's not really going to post you up on the other end. And you just really just run screens at other guys.
Yeah. You know what?
The team rotate elsewhere and you have enough shooting on the floor where you're going to catch them off guard some way.
Yeah, that's a great point because I was really taken aback by that. They really were. When Favors comes in, they're giving him the Rudy Gobert treatment, and then when Rudy was in, they were letting him be on the weak side. But you're right. What that means then is that all the kickouts they can get to his man are going to be wide open threes, and I think that Quinn Snyder is slowly realizing this as well, and that's why he only played 31 minutes tonight. I think. Is that what it was? Where's my? Oh, I lost my tab. Oh gosh, darn it all. Where's that? Here it is. It's behind something. So let me make sure I have the full game up. But yeah, Rudy Gobert only played 31 minutes. So, and Mitchell played 37 minutes. Bojan played 38. So, and Mitchell played 39. So, normally I think Gobert would have gotten at least 4 or 5 extra minutes, and they had to cut that. They might have to cut it more, don't you think? That Gobert might have to go under 30 minutes for them to win.
Yeah, honestly, and when he's off the floor, that's where Utah. That's like a chink in their armor, and that's where it's like I don't know if they're built to win a 7-game series if your best defensive player can't finish games, and that's pretty tough because Rudy is arguably the best defender in the NBA, and it's like if he can't be out there with these kind of lineups, it's going to be tough for Utah to win later in these rounds and later in these series. I think Utah matches up a lot better with Phoenix than they do the Clippers. And it's interesting because I'm kind of surprised the Clippers started the series off so slow, considering of the adjustments they made in the Dallas series. But it almost seems like they need to play a few games to really figure out how they want to play.
Yeah. And
then once they kind of find a rhythm and a rotation that works, then the other team is stuck trying to figure out the other side. I think Phoenix will probably come out hot if the Clippers. I picked the Clippers I picked the winner of Clippers Mavs to win the West initially, just because I felt like Luka's enough of a matchup nightmare, and honestly, I was under the impression Dallas's role players could play better.
Yeah,
but this, I think it'll be really interesting how the Clippers will match up with Phoenix.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that the Clippers' issue in the first couple of games is that they were just tired off of a 7-game series playing at altitude, and certainly Kawhi looked tired to me. So once they got kind of their legs back and they got home at sea level, it's a different story. Which, by the way, as we go to Game 5, they're going to be back at it's not so Mile High. Denver is 5,500 feet above sea level, and Utah, Salt Lake City is 4,500, something like that. So it's significant. It's not exactly as high, but the air is a little thinner, and we'll find out if the Clippers can handle it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And I know you had another caller on here that was talking about how to defend Chris Paul in the mid-range because he's so good. I was actually talking about this with one of the former Clippers coaches last year, actually 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
My advice to, like, as you're charting these pick and rolls and looking at it, like, really try to look at the possessions where they're going under Chris Paul and they're either going soft or just up to touch against him, and really just denying him the ability to get into the lane or try to make a play under the 3-point line is probably how I would try to scheme against him, which is really tough because you're only able, the court's only so big. But that would be my
so give him a
suggestion.
cushion, but then make sure you're contesting the mid-range shot he's going to pull up for.
Don't let him turn the corner. Don't let him turn the corner and let him beat you shooting. Because if he's at his best when he's getting his other teammates involved, and he's a really great mid-range shooter off the dribble. He's one of the best in the league. So you would want to deny him those opportunities. And it's almost like guarding Luka. It's like, what would you rather have? Luka go for 50 or Luka have 25 and 15?
Right. That's a good point. For sure, you want to let him score more and cut down his assists, and that's a good recipe.
Right, because the minute that if Chris Paul is scoring more, then, like, you would imagine Aiden is not getting as involved as much. Like, Chris Paul's not trying to feed the ball to Devin Booker as much. Like, it's going to limit Phoenix's opportunities, and I think the Clippers actually match up really well with Phoenix given their length and their ability to play small. And it's going to be interesting if they can get to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, Rob, was great. You're the best man to bring on here and break it down as good as anybody on that stuff. So thanks so much for doing it. And let's get together, please. I'll be free once we get into, like, the conference finals.
Yeah, definitely. Let's catch up this week. I appreciate all the hard work.
You got it. Thanks, Rob. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see here. Let's give Dave the Rave a chance here. I think that might be our last guest. We're getting along in the tooth here. It's way late for everybody on the East Coast, but let's see here. Dave, are you there? Inviting you on, and we'll give him a second, and let's grab anything else you might see here in the comments while we're waiting for Dave. Are you there? Aha, what's happening?
Hey, how's it going, Coach?
Pretty good. What you up to?
Good. Right here, chilling with a friend of mine, just going over some of these games that we just seen. Man, what do you think about? I'm sure the Jazz have to be pretty concerned right about now. That was a butt whooping they got from the Clippers tonight.
They have to be very concerned, and this is not just like one butt whooping, right? This is 2 in a row, and they just simply can't get control from the gate, from the opening of the gate, right from the start of the game. So, I mean, they need to get first of all, they need to get Jordan Clarkson to be more efficient, which is not it's never a guarantee. So that's always a big thing. They rely on him to be that guy, and I don't know if he is that guy. I don't think he can be that guy consistently. But then they also need a lot better shooting from, gosh, who am I missing? Jordan Clarkson. Oh, and then Mitchell needs to be more efficient as well. They got it from Bogdanovic. I mean, he shot well, but he seemed so timid in the very beginning that it was like before he could figure it out, like they were already down by so much, it didn't even matter if he started making shots later.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so what kind of adjustments do you think Utah needs to make?
So I would say you got to cut Rudy's minutes and match up. The problem is, okay, so you want to go small without Rudy, then like what is the small ball lineup for them? Because Derek Favors isn't either. Like they're just lighting him up whenever he gets in there. It was more the same, So you can't go him. So if you're going to go small ball, I mean, they just don't have anybody. I mean, like, do you want to like go Ilyasova, who hasn't played at all for them, and like let him play small ball 5 and let him be a floor spacer? I have no idea. Like, I know we got him for a minute the other game, but yeah.
But you're right. Yeah, it's going to be a little tricky for the coach, man, to make those adjustments.
Yeah, like maybe it's Niang. Maybe you play Niang at center, and because he can.
On the roster.
What's that?
Well, I didn't even know that he was on the roster, but yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, he gets his 13, 14, 15 minutes a game, and he can shoot. Normally, he hasn't shot well at all, but he hardly has any opportunities. But, like, he could kind of, you know what, if he has to guard Morris, they're going to post him up, and it might be a nightmare. But, never know. Maybe he can hold his own down there a little bit and then trade those 2s for 3s if he can get hot. But I think that's the other problem is I think we're discovering right now that the Jazz are not very deep. at all, right? I mean, they're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're going about 8 deep, maybe, but like the 8th guy is not even playing 13 minutes. So they really don't have a lot of other guys to turn to.
Yeah, and if your 6th man of the year ain't being too efficient, then yeah, it's gonna be a little tough.
Yeah, and I've always worried about him. I mean, he has games where he's good, but he also has games where he's taking terrible shots and throwing them up there. In fact, he got rewarded in the game 3. You know, that one where he got caught. I know the shot clock might have been winding down, but he threw up this wild one, and he ended up getting the rebound and then put back twice to get it in. But it was like those are the kind of shots. And he had a couple shots. He made one coming off of a screen at the top of the key at full speed, and like maybe even got bumped. They didn't call it, but he knocked down the 3, and it was just like, whoa. But that's the kind of shots he gets stuck doing, and it's hard to be efficient that way.
Right. And moving on to Atlanta and Philly, I would think even with that win, I would say Atlanta has to be a little worried too, because I mean, honestly, Sixers had that game in the bag. I mean, Embiid somehow missed that last layup. I mean, man, it seems like a lot of things went in their favor for them to get that W.
I agree. I do think that it's possible that Capella, they didn't show the replay enough to see that Capella knocked the ball a little bit out of his hands. When they did the replay, it was right after that happened where it looked like he kind of lost control of it for a second, and it might have been Capella kind of just knocking it loose. But, he's clearly ailing, I think, although when you watch his movement and the other times and the way he, is attacking in the post, I couldn't see a lot of evidence of Embiid's knee like being a real problem, but something was up that he went over 12 in the second half. I mean, that's insane. And that probably won't happen again if he plays, right? So I don't know if the Hawks have a lot of hope.
Yeah, right, definitely. Yeah. Wow, 0 for 12. I didn't even notice that. You do not expect that from Embiid.
Yeah. And by the way, he goes 2 for 12 and they win the game, right? Wow, did I just blow your mind? I don't know where you went. All right, maybe we lost you. Well, listen, I got a couple more people to bring in here, and then we're going to wrap this up. This is going longer than I expected, but I think Kaiser might have been next. The order isn't always perfect about when you guys request to come in. I'm going to make sure I mention that to the guys over at Hot Mic. But let's see, Kaiser, are you there? There you are. What's happening, my man?
Hi, Coach.
Hey.
Big fan of a breakdown.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, going back all the way. I love your videos. So I'm just wondering, what's your general thought on Ben Simmons as a player right now? Because I know you've been kind of back and forth on how he's being utilized, and I'm just wondering, if the Sixers are like maximizing his abilities and his potential. Because I just feel like, we know he can shoot, right? But we also know that he's an all-NBA defender. He guards the perimeter very well. He guards the passing lane very well. He's terrific in transition offense. But I just feel like him and Joel Embiid lacks the chemistry to for the Sixers to like actually succeed in playoffs, especially in crunch time. I just feel like those two don't really like gel really well, and it's hurting them because I feel like it's making Joel Embiid's job much harder. I don't know. What's your thought on Ben Simmons as a player right now?
Yeah, I mean, for several years now, we said that pairing isn't going to get him a title. But it's interesting because, they kind of operate in not in the same offense, right? It's almost like they never really connect together to actually hook up for shots and to generate stuff. But that said, like do Kawhi Leonard and Paul George? I mean, they kind of play opposite each other too, different positions, but still. But you would like to think that if you had a center like Embiid and then the guard like Simmons, then you'd have a lot of those pick and rolls. For some reason, I can't picture Simmons handling the ball and then Embiid setting ball screens. Like, can you?
No. I feel like every once in a while we will see flashes of like those like 2-man game. Like for instance, like game 3, I remember Ben Simmons had like a beautiful lob pass to Embiid, right? Like that was beautiful.
Yeah.
But other than that, or like just like one or few plays, like I just feel like you said, they're playing a different game. They play completely different basketball games. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's frustrating because when you're that limited offensively and you don't want to take a 10-footer even though it's wide open for you, it's like it makes it harder on everybody else. You notice he wasn't in for the last play, right, when they were down by
Right.
3.
Yeah.
And that made sense, and I'm sure he understood that. You needed shooters across the board, but that is the problem. By the way, it's funny because he got the defensive all defensive first team. It's Thibault. He's the guy that's, I think, is a better defender, and if he gets more minutes, he'll. I think he made one of those teams anyway. But and Thibault actually was willing to shoot and can make a couple 3. He made at least 1 or 2. I saw tonight, and so all of a sudden it's like, well, what if you get a guy that can really defend as well as Simmons or better, and he can shoot threes? Maybe that's what you need instead of a Simmons. I don't know. I mean, listen, Simmons is good, but like you said, and like we've been saying, there's something about that pairing. You're right. It's not really working. And we'll find out. I mean, the Hawks are probably not going to, I don't know. I feel like they're going to get to the conference finals, which will probably encourage the Sixers and think, okay, we have something here. But I would imagine that's where it's going to end for them.
Yeah.
All righty. You got it. Thanks, Kaiser.
No problem.
All right. Now, all right, we got Kevin and the mailman. Let's just cut it off after that because I got to get to sleep here. I got to get up early to do this video on one of these games. I guess we'll have to figure out which game we want to do. Anybody want to say in the comments which – what do I want to do? Hey, Kevin, what's happening, my man?
Hey, Coach, what's going on, my man? Here again.
All right, all right.
All right, so I'm going to try to keep it a nice little short for you. But so I'm going to try to get on with the first game with the Hawks and the Sixers. So clearly, you could tell Joel Embiid, he just wasn't as aggressive as he was in game 1, 2, and 3. I think this was actually the first game he didn't even get to the free throw line double-digit times. You could tell in the beginning of the game he was settling, which I think was kind of a good game plan. You want to kind of make him a jump shooter from the mid-range and everything. What do you expect? I'm actually surprised that they didn't start Thibault to kind of give a defensive presence mindset to start the game. Do you think they will make that change for Korkmaz, even though Ben Simmons, your second best player can't even play the last 10 seconds? That was just crazy to me. Do you think they would expect to change that? Because Korkmaz really ain't even, he ain't really giving anything that much, 25 minutes, 10 points. So I would think they would try to change that to defensive mindset.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think Korkmaz earned the start from the game before when he played really well.
Played well coming off the bench, exactly.
So let's plug him in there. And so I don't know. I don't know if they want to change much. I mean, starting Korkmaz tonight got them, an 18-point lead early, and in the midway through the second quarter. So everything was going nicely with what they did in the game plan. It started to fall apart. I mean, I kind of need to go through it again to really figure out what went wrong exactly. But certainly when Trae Young got going and then they started getting all those pick and rolls and then they were getting loose balls, they were getting offensive rebounds, the crowd turned and got really energetic into it. And then, that's the Sixers kind of just folded, right? They just sort of they couldn't handle it. And then, but again, let's not forget, all Embiid had to do was go instead of 0 for 12 in the second half. If he went 2 for 12, they win the game. So
just make it 1 or 2, win the game.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And they're okay. So there were a couple times, and by the way, he didn't get any free throws in the second half.
Do you think they missed the Danny Green presence more today? Even though Danny Green, he have his streaky ups and downs, but he could probably hit a crucial throw there for them at towards the end of the game.
Maybe, but I would probably think maybe, but less than half. If it was 60-40 against.
I understand, right?
Yeah,
yeah. So, and also you could tell this was probably Rudy Gobert's worst game in the series. I've seen a couple times that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, they would try to get into the paint, but they would kind of disguise them, bring them into the perimeter a little more, then drive on them. Do you expect? Do you think Quinn Snyder just gonna have to live with that, or do you think any adjustment could be made? Even I love Mike Conley, but I think the series is too deep into reach for him to really make that much of an impact.
I think that Mike Conley will make an impact. They need him if they want to win the series, but I don't. It doesn't sound like he's going to come back.
Yeah, that's
or who knows.
His hamstring. Yeah.
But as a result, the Rudy thing is interesting, and the only way you adjust is to play him less minutes, and I think he needs to play less minutes. I think he should go below 30, and try and eke it out. But I think that Quinn Snyder's hands are tied. They have nobody else to play besides Favors. Favors is getting lit up.
You saw, I think they said when he's on the court, they're at a 160 points per game pace. So I mean, Kawhi Leonard basically showed today what type of presence he really makes. So momentum definitely in the Clippers' favor. And so lastly, I think we all on the Phoenix Suns bandwagon. We love Chris Paul. We want Chris Paul to do well and get that first ring of his.
Yeah.
I think people's talking about how to defend Chris Paul. I would think teams would try to go under the screen on him to try to give him a little cushion to show can he shoot that 3-ball with that shoulder, because I think he only attempted 8 threes last series. So that was kind of mind-boggling me with the Nuggets, that they would kind of try to go under the screen and then give him a cushion at the 3-point line to try to see if he could beat us from there. But with Devin Booker and Chris Paul, they're mid-range specialists. They like to stretch their game out to the mid-range, and if they feeling it, they can shoot with the best when they're hot. Do you think the Clippers could do something with that? Even though, most of the teams they're playing Donovan Mitchell, who's 3-ball hungry.
Mhm.
Luka Doncic is 3-ball hungry, but you're playing a team that is a mid-range. 2 of their guards are pick-and-roll mid-range specialists who love to stretch the floor to, Mikal Bridges, who I think has all-star potential, not perennial all-star potential, but he could definitely be a two-way ring that could get there. What do you think his impact can be with the Clippers and Paul George and Kawhi?
Okay, well, let's see. The first thing I want to make a comment on is, a great call on going under the screens and inviting Chris Paul to shoot threes. At least figure that out and see who's going to knock him down. That's a great call. So, that's probably what I would do as well. Give him a cushion there, but then obviously that cushion's got to get disappear once he gets inside the 3-point line,
right?
And to take away those the mid-range jumpers. So that's the one thing. I love Mikal Bridges. He should be an all-star. He's a 3-and-D guy.
All defensive. That was mind-boggling, but you understand.
Oh, I know. I don't understand that at all. And Russ got a defensive second-team vote.
I saw that.
but you have to remember, like, sometimes these contracts are predicated on like getting one vote for one of those teams. So I don't know. I doubt he's like, hey, I'll give you X amount of money to give me that vote. But like sometimes that's something happens there. I don't know how, but it's dependent on these guys' contracts. Sometimes, nonetheless. But Mikal Bridges is an elite defender, long arms. He can nail the knockdown shots.
Yeah, he made Michael Porter look pretty pedestrian last series, even though he was dealing with back pain stuff. But
right, and
then definitely.
But Porter had his moments too. Let's not forget he did. But So he's going to be a really big key. And I thought he, compared to what he did to the Lakers, this last series, he was so much better. It was crazy. And now he's actually blossoming into a guy who looked like looking for a shot and maybe a little couple dribbles here.
Definitely was aggressive. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's great to see. I can't wait to see him keep the way he plays. And that's the kind of guy you should be drafting number one,
Yeah.
And the NBA still won't learn. Like, who did they draft? They drafted Ayton, which ends up being a really nice pick because his advancement on defense has been compared to what he played defense of as a rookie. It's
right.
Night
Speaking
and day.
of,
Also,
right, I was going to say, what more of an offensive impact do you think Ayton would make more instead of say Rudy Gobert? Even though Ayton still has a few moves that he could improve on, the consistent everything, but clearly, he is still a better offensively gifted player than Rudy Gobert.
Oh,
do you think he would give them? Yeah. Do you think he would give them Clippers a little more of a worrisome to deal with Zubac and everything to get Zubac and them in foul trouble?
Yeah,
and then open the game up.
Yeah, I mean, Zubac is going to be absolutely crucial to them because they're going to need him to guard him. They don't have anybody with size like that. I guess they have Boogie, so that's going to be an interesting.
Yeah, Boogie. I'm sorry, he'll get destroyed in the pick and roll with Chris Paul.
Yeah, but he'll also do some destroying himself. I think on the other end, I think he could probably do some damage, maybe get some fouls on him. So that will be an interesting matchup. I would imagine if it's Suns Clippers, that Boogie will get an opportunity for sure to do something with that. But and Zubac is good. He's solid, as a defender. So I'd like to see that. But the key with Ayton, I think eventually it's going to be he'll be shooting threes. He'll be doing a little bit more like what we see Embiid do. He's got a nice jumper. I don't see why he won't be able to get it back behind the 3-point line sooner than later.
Absolutely. And then lastly, on to the Bucks and the Nets. What do you expect from KD tomorrow? I'm pretty sure he's just gonna have to basically get him a LeBron 2018 cast. I doubt it. I just don't see that being a KD type of player. But do you think Blake Griffin could get him a renaissance performance again, heart, soul? I don't expect PJ Tucker and them to play physical basketball. I don't think the refs going to let that happen with the Nets, them at home. But what do you think the outcome could be with them? Joe Harris has been kind of clamped up. You can see
on the road, not at home. He's been great on the road. He's not. And by the way, if you're looking at that, the notion of what the effect of the crowds have, having gone through the whole season without crowds, and now here they are.
Yeah, now the crowds are absolutely.
Maybe Harris is one of those guys that like gets affected by that more than others.
Yeah.
So that's good because that's Game 5 for the Nets, and if you win Game 5, even if you're shorthanded, whatever, you're going to win the series 85% of the time. I would expect a huge game from KD. I would say 50 points. You know what I mean? He's just going to go off. But I wonder if it's going to be enough. I really do.
Do you think it would be an efficient 50, or do you think he's going to have to put up like 25, 30 shots?
I don't think it'll be as efficient as normal. So he'll probably be below 50%. He'll probably like in the low 40s, I bet. And that might be why I have some pause about whether or not it'll be enough for them to overcome the Bucks. It just sucks, man. To have Kyrie go down like that, and
he not coming back.
No, that's a 4-week injury minimum, and so he's done, and that probably means the Nets are done for a title hope. Maybe they can eke this out because they already had a 2-0 lead, but I don't know if they can. I doubt they get the finals this way. By the way, unless Harden comes back, which could be
but they say he out. They already reported he's more likely out next game. So
all right,
momentum back on the Bucks side. Thank you again, Coach. Hope to have a hot mic again, man.
Awesome stuff, Kevin. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Well, the mailman wants to come on. Let's see real quickly. Maybe we can do this one, and then I'm going to be done, guys, because it is now almost 11:30 my time, and I'm on the West Coast. What's up, the mailman?
Hey, how's it going? Longtime fan.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And can I just start out by saying, hey, are you in? Because I'm in.
I'm in.
All right. Hey, so basically my question is about the Jazz series here. And I'll try to keep this short, just between two questions. And I'll go first here. So what should the Jazz look forward to with having Mike Conley back? And for me, I think of the leadership, offensive pacing, kind of settling things down when we're a little frantic here. I think Donovan Mitchell, he's developed that side of his game immensely, especially as a leader too. But I don't think he's quite on that level yet, as Mike Conley is as our point guard. I like to think a lot of times too when Snyder would, unfortunately, especially with our second unit looking frantic at times, we'd have Conley in there, and I think hopefully that'll also get rid of some of our droughts too, our scoring droughts.
Yeah.
And then that's going to segue me into my second question then about our defense. Kawhi's hot. He's going to do what he's going to do. As a competitor, I think, PG-13, he's kind of the weaker spot. I want to see the other players score, 13, 12, 10 points here. And then also see Paul George probably score around 13 points too. So obviously he's now gotten hot. And that's one thing where with Mike Conley coming back, I don't really see him helping there. And I still see our mixture of like maybe Bogey, Royce, and I'm missing one.
Jordan
Bogey,
Clarkson.
Royce, and, Clarkson, yeah. But obviously things just aren't working out. So what do you think we can do to maybe keep him from getting hot?
Well, I think the Conley thing will help a little bit when they double Mitchell and they can swing it to Conley to create. They don't have anybody else who can create that well, so that'll be a big move for them offensively, as far as I could tell. As long as Conley's not like completely rusty, which he might be, and also they can swing it to him and he can hit a three. So I think that'll really, really help. And even just to have another good player to play so they can get an 8 or 9 man rotation versus like 7.5 like they're doing now will help. Defensively, yeah. I mean, listen, Conley, the thing with what Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are doing, some of these shots they're hitting are just ISOs, that are just tough shots. It's like, I don't know what you're supposed to do. And by the way, same with Mitchell, right? Mitchell hits these shots that are tough as well. But the Clippers have 2 of those guys. 2 is more than 1. So that's what the Jazz are up against. And Conley might help a little bit with that and give them a little bit of scoring boost that they absolutely need. And then, but defensively, the one thing that the Jazz were doing really poorly, I thought, was keeping the ball in front. They were getting blown by. That Kawhi Leonard dunk that he had, he didn't even really do a move, God. No jab step, not a shot fake, nothing. He just went ripped through and right to the basket by O'Neal and dunked it. I think George had 1 or 2 of those as well. So they're just like, they're getting too much penetration too easily. And once that happens, forget it. Rudy's got to come over and then boom, it's a nice little layup or it's a wide open 3. And then Rudy was giving up wide open 3s as well because of the small ball. It's a big conundrum. And Quinn Snyder without like Conley just doesn't have many other options. That's why I was like, do they have to try and like Ilyasova and play him at small ball? They don't have a small ball lineup, and that's what's going to kill him.
Yeah, and I just really want to follow that up quickly. Something that I just think as a long-time Jazz fan, having a small backcourt, I think just kind of hurts. And then, thinking about those drives and just getting blow-bys, it kind of makes me laugh because I just think of really like old series 2 in the back with random players like Rodrigue Beaubois, right, and JJ Barea just having monster games against us because we've historically just had trouble with wings just blowing by us.
Yeah.
But anyways, hey, thanks for your time, and have a good one.
You too. Thanks. Appreciate it. All right. As we wrap this up, I'm thinking that maybe Ingles plays center, and they probably have to bring Clarkson. So the lineup would be Bojan, Royce O'Neal, Ingles, Mitchell, and Clarkson. Like that might be what they have to do, and watch for that. I don't think that they played that before. Let me just really quickly as we wrap this up. Let me go over to NBA Wowie, type that in, and see if that lineup is played together. Are you ready? If you don't know NBA Wowie, you should check it out. It's really cool that you type in names on off and then see the results or the stats for these teams. So if I type in, what did I say? Oh, well, I guess if Conley's out there, then Conley can play instead of Clarkson. But let's just pretend Conley's out. So it's going to be, what did I say? Clarkson, Mitchell. Who else did I say? Ingles, O'Neal, and who was the other person? Let's see, Jazz. Bogdanovic. Okay, so let's try Bogdanovic. So has this 5-man lineup ever played together? They played all of none. Did not play together at all. That's not been a 5-man. Now you don't want to invent new lineups in the playoffs just out of whole cloth, but sometimes you got to kind of do something radical here. So maybe I'll have to try and blast it out to the internets and see if anybody at the Jazz hears me. I think it's worth trying. Really, let Ingles be the guy guarding Morris. That's fine for them, and then they can actually have shooting and everything they need to do, and like they could be switchy as well. So that's my solution for the Jazz. Maybe I'll tweet it out too tomorrow morning when everyone's awake. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being part of the show. Huge show, awesome stuff, and thank you everybody on the super chat side. Let's see, let's go all the way to the beginning. Abdenego, Snowy Joey, Xavier Smith, Jose Benitez, Cruz Siete, FLC Climax or FL Climax, Enigma, Lil Ruse, the Rosie Codex, Jake Wellard, and then Lehman. So much for all your what's the word I'm looking for? Generous super chats. Thank you for helping me keep the lights on. Over on the hot mic, thanks for coming on here and watching and chopping it up. Again, don't forget, we'll be doing this most of the time with our live shows on YouTube on the hot mic app where you can come in and chop it up with me. Love to hear from you guys. I don't want to hear my voice droning on and on for an hour and a half straight. So awesome stuff. Again, thank you guys so much. And don't forget it, B-Ball Breakdown. Not a channel, we're a conversation. You in?